When I was a little boy, there was moments when I'd be in my bed and I would be praying and crying to God, please, please save me. Please take me away from this. Please help me. And then in the immediate moment, nothing would happen. And I would get so frustrated. And I would blame God. And I would be like, bah, like why? Like why is this happening? And then time goes on. Experiences happen. I would learn more. I would understand that everything that happened in my life set me up perfectly for this moment right here. To be talking with you through this medium, to be engaging in my reality in the way that I am, to know the things that I know, to be the man that I am, the person, the human, the being that I am and becoming simultaneously. All of those things that I went through as a little boy, some of them extremely painful and some of them extremely wonderful, they all set me in for this. And what I have noticed though, as I got older, was I still embodied this identity of somebody who needed somebody to save him. That I needed somebody to come in and show me the way. I needed somebody to give me approval for doing the things that I wanted to do. I needed somebody to come in and tell me that everything was going to be all right when I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what was going on. This hero archetype that I was yearning for so deeply as a little boy that still existed in my consciousness as a young man. Mind you, I'm still a young man, but a younger man at that time. And it wasn't until, truthfully, within the past couple years that I have began to really know. And not just a knowing that's conceptual, but a knowing that's somatic. And I have this saying that there is conceptual understanding and bodily knowing, right? We can understand an idea conceptually. We can know that, we choose our reality, that we are the active participants of our reality. But it's an entirely different thing to walk and embody that type of being. And when you start to walk and embody something that you conceptually understand, you then somatically begin to integrate it as part of who you are. Somatically, meaning it is an embodied state, right? You can smell the difference when somebody's just like walking the walk, trying to pretend to be something they're not, compared to when somebody just is. And over these past couple years, going through certain trials and tribulations and moving away from home into a new state and having to start life all over again and doing this amazing journey, is it showed me that I am and always have been that hero that I was praying for as a little boy. That God, and I like to use the word God, if you don't resonate with that word, place, universe, great spirit, Allah, Brahman, like Yeshua, Yahweh, like it doesn't matter what the word is, divinity, higher consciousness, it's all the same thing. I like to use the word God though. So if that rubs you the wrong way, then sorry. God was setting me up for all of the prerequisite skills that I would need to be the man that little boy needed at that time. And that little boy needed some things at that time that he didn't get, unfortunately. And that's okay. And that's not a bash on my parents. That's not a bash on my friends or my siblings or anything. Everybody was doing the best that they could with what they had at that time. And that is okay. And it takes a minute to genuinely get to that point when we are looking back on our childhood and there are things and experiences that we wish we could have had more of and we didn't get those. And it's like you want to blame somebody. You want to be like, fuck, like why didn't they show up for me in this way? Why didn't those things happen? And there definitely has to be that period of anger and that period of frustration in order to transcend it and grow beyond that, because after that period of anger comes acceptance. You can accept what happened. You may not necessarily fully be in forgiveness yet, but you can accept that what happened happened, regardless of how big or small whatever happened. Once you accept that, then you begin to the process of forgiveness, and it is a continuous process. One of my favorite analogies that I heard, it was, you have a glass of wine in one, and then a glass of water in another. Or actually, restart. A glass of wine underneath a water spout, and the water spout is pouring water into this glass of wine. And initially it's just a deep dark red, and the water's pouring in and it's pouring in, and eventually over time that red begins to dilute itself into a crystal clear glass of water. And that's the process of acknowledging, accepting, forgiving, transcending. It is a continuous process that doesn't happen instantly. It happens over a period of time, as long as you are persistent and keep with it. And it's being able to accept, forgive, to look at those things that have happened to and for you, to and for me. It gives this whole new sense of empowerment, because you can look at that and you could say, wow, those things that happened to me, that was such a blessing, because it gave me skills, resources, strength, kindness, humility, understanding that I wouldn't have gotten had I had not gone through that. And you can't compare it to, well, it could have happened this way, because it fucking didn't happen that way. It happened as it needed to. And so, embodying your own hero, being your hero, is really as simple as acknowledging everything that has happened is setting you up for the greatest hero's journey, the story, main character arc of a lifetime. Sorry, I'm getting a notification on my phone. Probably should have put that on Do Not Disturb before I started, but we're fucking going. So, either way, everything happened perfectly. And now that you are conscious and aware, now that I know these things, what am I going to do differently? What are you going to do differently? It is always a choice. And this is where we now are being met with this pinnacle of the way things used to be, the way we want things to be. And they are clashing because there is resistance to fully embodying and integrating them as a unified whole. We cannot push away the past. I've tried. It always comes back like a sneaky fuck. And we cannot fully welcome the future until we create space. Pushing something away does not create space for something new to come in, because when we push that pendulum away, it comes back and it knocks you in the face. And when we try to bring on something with a hand that's already closed and full, it just, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It's simple, right? It doesn't make sense. So what do? How do we create space to allow ourselves to integrate into our highest form, to be our own hero? We let go. Isn't that annoying? Isn't that an annoying fucking answer? When I would hear, let go. Oh, just let go. I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit. How do I just let go? To be honest, there isn't like a step-by-step process on letting go, because just like forgiveness, it is a continuous process until one day it just clicks. And there isn't, yes, there are certain processes and steps that you could be doing. Meditation, for sure. If you are not meditating daily, that has to be there. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Let's backtrack. Here's a couple things you can be doing to further your process of letting go. Daily meditation, so that you understand what your center is, and so you can understand the nowness, the isness, as Muji says. I fucking love that term, the isness of something, the what is in its expansiveness. Meditation is not a tool to silence the mind, but it is a tool to concentrate and expand upon what is currently happening. And from that state of expansion of the now, you then enter into flow. And when we are in flow, we are moving and manipulating our reality as we deem it to be, not as what it should be or what we want, like what we think it should be, but it's a flowing of what's coming in and either moving away or bringing it in and having this harmonious dance. It's easier said than done. It's not, perfect like that, but with practice, it gets smoother. Meditation is one. The consistent practice of healing yourself, eating, drinking, and moving your body in its highest expression, drinking clean water, minimizing caffeine exposure. Honestly, stop drinking alcohol. It serves nothing for your body. Yes, it's okay to like to have a drink every now and then and to like the consumption of alcohol every now and then. Everybody has their own thing. But to be honest, it does nothing for you. So like, yes, if I go out and I take somebody on a date or it's a celebration and there's a glass of wine, I might have a little glass of wine. Maybe. Be honest, I don't know, because I don't care, because alcohol does zero benefit for your body. Clear your body. Minimize how much you are inducing yourself into an altered state of consciousness mindlessly, right? It's one thing to utilize cannabis, psychedelics, all of these plant medicines as a medicine, as a tool, as a resource for you. But if you are just mindlessly smoking weed to get high and to escape reality or to just feel good, you're missing out on the potential to actually deepen yourself truthfully. And if you say to yourself, oh, well, I need these things for X, Y, and Z reason, yes. Now, if you have a medical condition, literally, truthfully, that cannabis aids you in, then that's a different story. But if you're somebody like me, who I started smoking weed when I was 11 years old, and I am 27 now, and I am just now really learning to like not have that in my life. I went through a whole year of sobriety, and reintegrating those substances back into my life really showed me how much I don't want them and need them in my life. Mushrooms is a little bit of a different thing, because depending on how you're utilizing them, in microdosing, like structured microdosing schedules, and then also very intentional ceremonial journey doses, that's a different context. But you're not going into it with the intention of, I just want to get high. You're going in with the intention to expand, but then you have to have a period of integration. This is a whole other conversation that I'm getting a little bit sidetracked on, which we'll probably have that conversation eventually on substances and psychedelics and that process, because that is a very, very fascinating process for me. I have done so many drugs in my lifetime, and as somebody who now is really embracing sobriety fully, but without restriction, it's a gray area. It's a conversation in a video for another time, because it's a bigger conversation than what I'm trying to get into right now. What I'm getting into right now is be mindful of your substance use. Be mindful. If you want to smoke, if you want to drink, if you want to indulge, do it. Do it, but know there is always a give and take relationship. When you are leaving your waking consciousness to go into an altered state of consciousness, you are giving something to go into that state. And while you may feel good in that state, ask yourself, how do you feel not only the day after, but the remaining days afterwards? Or how does it even feel when you smoke and then initially the high feels good, but then a couple hours later when you're just kind of fuzzy? Ask yourself what's important to you. I can't tell you what that is. Obviously, I'm just a fucking guy behind the camera right now, but you know your truth. And I do believe that when we start to awaken to our higher faculties, substances pull you away from a heightened state of awareness that is honestly so much better than what these substances can offer. And clearing yourself, getting really clear, allows you to see yourself fully. And when you see yourself, not just your physical body and your name and the ego structure, but the self, the part of you that is observing and watching, it is only through a clear lens can you really know that and see that fully. So when you are meditating daily to clear that lens, when you are eating organic whole foods that come from the earth or an animal and offering and honoring that food, when you are taking time away from indulging in substances to have a clear mind, when you are moving and training your body, sweating, walking, like staying active to express your body, because a body of water in motion is a healthy body of water, and we are mostly made up of water. So staying in motion is how we stay of our utmost vitality. When we have these base principles of health, that then gives space for us to begin to ask and question, who is this true hero? Who is the hero that I have been searching for? Trick question, it's always been you, but how does that person actually behave? How does that person actually move, walk, talk, be in the world? And there's no direct answer because that's your journey to find. But what you will find is the more you ask yourself that question, what would the highest form of me do right now? What do I need to know? What do I need to do to invoke the highest form of myself? And the more you begin to act upon those insights, even if they don't make logical sense, the more you will align yourself with that version of you. Therefore, closing the gap between this being a distant fantasy and these old patterns and behaviors that were once clashing that can now integrate. Because you have given space for something to come in the middle, to allow a bridge to connect between these two parts of you. The part of you that was, the part of you that will be, and now. You now is the middle bridge. And the you now, the highest form of you, can be entered into this moment as long as you are honoring that form of you by doing what we just talked about. Daily meditation and devotion. Devotion to something beyond yourself. Meditation to center and align yourself with that form. Eating whole foods as minimally processed as possible. Moving your body daily. And minimizing the intake of substances that alter your state of mind. And I will admit, yes, I have a psychedelic tiger on my wall. But, it's fucking awesome, so why not? Yeah, I'm excited for that video to talk about substances because it's a fun conversation because it is so interesting. And I've wanted it's currently May of 2025 and I went sober of 2024 and I wanted to make that video at the beginning of the year, but when I started to reintroduce substances, that shit took me for a little bit of a whirlwind and I was not grounded and I needed time. So the time's coming for me to make that video because I've learned a lot in the reintroduction process after having a lot of time away, and fuck did I learn some shit from that. Stay tuned. That's going to be a really good video. And I'm also putting this on Spotify, so if you're listening to, but you can watch videos on Spotify, so it's kind of both. Either way, my friend, you are the hero that you have been searching for. You know what you need to do. You know what you want. You know where you need to go. But are you going to continue living in a victim state, wishing and praying for somebody to come in and swoop you off your feet and save the day? Or are you going to show yourself that you are the hero? I have two things I want to finish this off with. One of them is a bookmarker that I got years ago. And I fucking love this bookmarker. I don't know if that's focusing or not. At the center, it's really hard to read this backwards. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. Sorry, I couldn't read that through my phone. It was all backwards and shit. But I don't even know if that's still backwards. Regardless, at the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, one of my favorite books. Time of Sages, I got that name from the Tao because the one who embodies the Tao, the way of things, the middle way, as Christ would say, is the wise sage. And this is the time for us to invoke the sage within. Motherfucker. And that's one. Second part is one of my favorite stories. There's a guy whose car is broken down on the side of the road. He popped his hood, he popped his tail, he put on his hazards, and he's trying to flail somebody down to help him, and cars just keep passing by. Nobody's giving him the time of day. And after a good while of waiting for somebody to come help him, with all the clear indicators that he needed help, he said, fuck it, I'm just going to push. And he started pushing the car. And as soon as he started pushing the car, with also those clear indicators that he needed help, what do you think happened? People started pulling over. People started wanting to help. So what I'm saying is that when you think you need help with something, but you want somebody to come and rescue you, it doesn't work like that. You have to show reality that you are willing to meet it halfway to create that bridge. Meet it halfway by doing the work, doing the things to the utmost highest capacity of what you are possibly able to do. And you know when you're bullshitting yourself and you're not. I know when I'm bullshitting myself and I'm saying, oh, I don't have time to make a video. I don't have time to do some work stuff. I don't have blah, 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 blah. Like, I know when I'm fucking bullshitting myself. I know that for sure. And if I know that, you sure as shit know that, because I am no different than you. I am no smarter than you. I am no better than you. We are the fucking same. My throat tattoo says, if you're watching on video, says "Man to hastam" in Farsi, which means I am you. We're the same motherfucking shit, yo. So what I'm saying is you know when you're lying to yourself, you know when you're not reaching yourself to its fullest capacity, but you don't really know to the fullest extent of that unless you are taking time to settle the mud, so to say. There's a concept in meditation when you put mud and water in a jar and you shake it up and you set it down, and initially the jar is just a muddy, mucky mess. But with time, the sediment settles to the bottom, the mud settles to the bottom, and then the water is on top and it's clear, and the mud is at the bottom. So what the chaos is, the storm, the muckiness, the cloudiness, it settles. And that comes from embodying a holistic lifestyle. Meditation, nutrition, movement, and continuously asking yourself. The question that I ask myself often is, what would the highest form of me do right now? And also, what do I need to know? And what do I need to do to invoke the highest form of myself? What do I need to know, and what do I need to do to invoke the highest form of myself? If you answer that question truthfully, and you listen, and you act on that answer, you will be your own hero. And it will not be something that you have to wait for a distant future. It will happen immediately, because you are immediately aligning yourself with that version of you. Reality is an infinite level of possibilities, all simultaneously happening in the now. In quantum physics, the wave and the particle. It is both an infinite span of space while also accumulating right now into this very exact moment. That. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, it's okay. Just slow down, do less. You'll understand and you'll know what I mean. Whew. It feels amazing to embody the one who is your own hero. And yet it's also initially kind of scary, truthfully, because initially when I was like, okay, like, you know, I'm gonna do the shit. And then you start doing the shit and you're like, wow, like I really only have me to depend on, but which isn't true, because you have tons of support, more than you actually think you realize that you do. But when you can really rely on yourself, initially you may think that it's scary. It may initially feel scary, but that's just the ego stepping into something that's unknown. But with time and practice, it becomes a known that you are the one that you have been looking for, that you are your own hero, and you can do all the things and more. So, I hope that helped. Much love, my friends. Be your own fucking hero. Because it's so much more fun to live in a state of empowerment than a state of a victim. And as somebody who has spent the majority of his life living as a victim, waiting for somebody to come help him, I can tell you on the other side, it's way more fun. It's way more empowering. It's way more sexy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Fuck yeah. All right, y'all. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. I would love to hear your thoughts. What has this journey been like for you? What has it been like? And even on Spotify, I believe you can comment on Spotify podcasts. Leave a comment. I genuinely want to know, what is the journey like for you in stepping into you being your own hero? What's holding you back? What lies are you telling yourself? And can you make this video a declaration to stand in your fullness, be in the totality of the isness, and embrace being the hero that you have been looking for? Much love, y'all.